Okay, Jai Suparikar, Shri Shri Guru Gauranga Gandharvika Giridhari, Shri Shri Radha Vinod Bihari Jiyo Ki Jai, Jai Shri Shri Gandharva Govinda Sundar Ki Jai. That's the name of Srila Sridhar Maharaj's deities. Gandharva Govinda Sundar. Like Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati's Gandharvika Giridhari, and his is Gandharva Govinda Sundar, Guru Gauranga. And the deity, he told a story about that deity. I'm not sure if it's still the same deity on the altar or if it's a different deity that they put into his samadhi, because there's a big deity of Mahaprabhu in his samadhi. Did you notice that? Yeah. But he told the story that when he had that deity of Mahaprabhu carved, he had it carved from some very reputable place that has made so many deities, you know. And but what he did was he told to the carver, he says, what is your price? And then he gave him his price. And then Srila Sridhar Maharaj said, I'm giving you extra because I want that the deity that you carve will be extraordinarily beautiful. So that's the story on his deity. Shri Shri Guru Gauranga Gandharvika Giridhari Radha Vinod Bihari Jiyo Ki Jai, Jai Nitya Lila Pravishta Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Statarasata, Shri Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai, Nitya Lila Pravishta Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Asta Shri Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. Nitya Lila Pravishta Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Astottara Sata Shri Srila Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. Nitya Lila Pravishta Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Astottara Sata Shri Srila Bhakti Pragyan Keshava Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. Nitya Lila Pravishta Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Astottara Sata Shri Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Thakur Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jai Mahabhagavat Srila Gorakishora Das Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. Shri Srila Sachidananda Bhakti Vinod Thakur Ki Jai. Vaishnava Sarva Bhaum Shri Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai. Shri Gauri Vedanta Charya Baladev Jibhushan Prabhu Ki Jai. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur Ki Jai. Shri Narottam Srinivas Shyamananda Prabhu Trai Ki Jai. Shri Krishna Das Kaviraj Goswami Prabhu Ki Jai. Shri Rup Sanatan Bhatta Raghunath Shri Jiva Gopala Bhatta Das Raghunath Sada Goswami Prabhu Ki Jai. Srila Swarup Damodar Rai Ramanandari Gaur Parsada Vrinda Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Prem Sikho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Shri Antardvip Mayapur Simanta Dvip Godram Dvip Madhya Dvip Kola Dvip Ritu Dvip Janu Dvip Moda Druma Dvip Ruda Dvip Atmaka Shri Shri Navadvip Dham Ki Jai. Jai Shri Jagannath Puri Purushottam Kshetra Dhama Ki Jai. Jai Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopi Go Govardhan Dvadashavanatmaka Shri Braj Mandala Dhama Ki Jai. Shyama Kunda Radha Kunda Yamuna Ganga Tulsi Bhakti Devi Ki Jai. Jai Shri Shri Radha Govinda Radha Gopinath Radha Madan Mohan Jiyo Ki Jai. Shri Shri Radha Gokulananda Radha Shyama Sundar Radha Raman Radha Damodar Jiyo Ki Jai. Shrimati Lalita Vishaka Adi Ashta Shaki Vrinda Ki Jai. Shri Rupa Manjari Rati Manjari Adi Manjari Vrinda Ki Jai. Shrimati Vrinda Devi Ki Jai. Shrimati Purnamasi Yogamaya Devi Ki Jai. Shri Gopishwar Mahadeva Ki Jai. Sarva Bhishta Pradata Giriraj Govardhan Ki Jai. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Shri Jagannath Baladev Subhadra Sudarshan Chakrajiv ki jai. Bhakti Vigna Vinashana Shri Nrsinga Dev ki jai. Bhakta Pravarishi Prahlad Maharaj ki jai. Charodam Charo Sampradaya Charo Acharya ki jai. Akara Matraj Shri Chaitanya Mat ki jai. Orananya Shaka Mat Samoha ki jai. Shri Vishva Vaishnav Raj Sabha ki jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnav Vrinda ki jai. Tribhuvana Pavana Harinama Sankirtana ki jai. Tribhuvana Mangala Harinama Prabhu ki jai. Hare Krishna Mahamantra ki jai. Sachinandana Gaura Hari ki jai. Shinityananda Mahajana ki jai. Shri Pancha Tattva ki jai. Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Samagata Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Nitai Gaur Premanande. Some Guru song? Any Guru or Vaishnava song? Okay. Thakura Vaishnava Pada Avanira Susampada Shuno Bhai Hoya Eka Ma Ashraya Loya Bhaje Tare Krishna Nahi Tyaje Ar sab more akara Vaishnava Charana Bol Prema Bhakti Dite Bol Ar keho nahi bala banta Vaishnava Charana Reno Ke Bhushana Vino Ar nahi Bhushanera Anta Ah Balavanta Jal Paritra Gune Akiache Purani Se Sava Bhaktira Prabhancha Shravena Samana He Sava Vaishnavera Parodaka Samana He Sava Jai Vanshita Purana Kate Hoy Vanshita Vaishnava Sangite Man Anandita Anuksha Sada Hoy Krishna Parasanga Tama Kande Yadaya Yahi Bande Daya Nahi Hoilo Banda Gura Vaishnava Avanira Susampa Shlogai Hoyai Kama Ashraya Lahiya Bhaje Tare Krishna Nahi Tyaje Arsa Moreya Kara Krishna 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 Hare Ram Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare Krishna Jaya Guru Deva Guru Deva Guru Deva Jaya Guru Deva Jaya Prabhupada 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 Jaya Prabhupada Nikai Gaur Hare Krishna. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangum Langayate Girim Yat Kripa Tamaham Bande Shri Gurun Dinataranam Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gaura Tishe Nama. He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye. Panchatattvatmakam Krishnam Bhakta Rupa Swarupakam Bhaktavataram Bhaktakyam Namami Bhakta Shaktikam. He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye. Vrindai Tulsi Devai Priyayi Keshavasya Cha Krishna Bhakti Prade Devi Satyavachai Namo Namaha. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare. Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. First of all, I'm offering my unlimited Dandavat Pranams and my Shraddha Pushpanjali at the lotus feet of my most worshipable beloved Gurudev Nitya Leela Pravishta Om Vishnu Pad Paramahansa Ashtatarasata Sri Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada. Then I'm offering my same unlimited Dandavat Pranams and my Shraddha Pushpanjali at the lotus feet of my most worshipable beloved Siksha Gurudevs Nitya Leela Pravishta Om Vishnu Pad Paramahansa Ashto Tarasata Sri Srila Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Goswami Maharaj, whose transcendental disappearance day, Tirubhav Mahamahotsav Titi, is tomorrow on Monday. So today we are trying to glorify him. And also to my other Siksha Guru, Nitya Leela Pravishta Om Vishnu Pad Paramahansa Ashtatarasata Sri Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj, and my Dandavat Pranams to the lotus feet of all of my Sri Rupa Nuga Guru Varga, and my Dandavat Pranams to all the Vaishnavas and to all the Vaishnavis. You know, this class is in English language. I don't know, do you know English? Huh? English. You don't know. No Hindi, no Bengali. This class, ek pravachan, kevala Angreji. Okay. You want to if they want to stay, you can translate for them.
রান্নাবান্নি আমরা তো আসাম থেকে আসছি দুদিন হলো, ওখানে আসছি ওই যে গঙ্গার পাশে যে রান্না মন্দির ওখানে। আজকে আমরা বিকেলবেলা মায়াপুর যাবো। হ্যাঁ, ওখানে আমাদের রুম নেওয়া আছে। আজকে ওখানে প্রসাদ পাবো, তারপরে রুম ছেড়ে দিয়ে আমরা চলে যাবো মায়াপুরে।
খুব ভালো। ও মায়াপুর যাত্রা খুব ভালো। হরে কৃষ্ণ হরে কৃষ্ণ।
ওনারই শিষ্য। হ্যাঁ হ্যাঁ, ওনার বাড়িতেও গেছি আমরা কালকে এত সুন্দর। উনি আমাদের ওইখানকার ঠিকানা ওখানে থাকার জন্য গেছিলাম। আজকে দর্শন করলাম।
Okay. So what I asked the question. There are two alternatives here. One is to read one chapter in this book, which is, as I mentioned before, various articles. I mean, these are darshans of Srila Sridhar Maharaj on different topics. The topic I've selected is called The Guide. And that we could probably do, I think, without problem in this class. And then, but there's also that autobiographical talk that he himself gave, which he tells about his whole life from, the beginning of his life, his earliest memories as a child, and he goes all the way through. That's a little bit more lengthy than this one. Which one would you like to hear? This one is straight on his Siddhanta, Guru Tattva Siddhanta. Very interesting, this particular article, because we've read Sri Guru and His Grace, and we know about his capability in penetrating into... Have you started this? Okay. When did you start it? Before what? Okay. Don't start it in the future for Jayadvani and the Kirtan, because these should just be the lectures.
Start to speak about the teachers of Srila Sridhar Maharaj.
About the what?
The teachers of Srila.
Oh, yeah. Okay. But those are only little things. So don't start the actual video until then. I think... Okay.
I don't know, I like the idea of reading the guide.
Okay.
I mean, the autobiographical thing also sounds really interesting, but...
Yeah, but by the way, I'm gonna give class again on Tuesday on Srila Sridhar Maharaj. So the one I don't read today, I'll read on Tuesday. Maybe I'll even give class on Thursday as well. Let's see. Okay, so let's do the guide. This is chapter 5 of Srila Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Maharaj's. It's called Guru Maharaj's Centenary edition. So this article is something you publish in a magazine. Of course, this is published in his book, but this is his actual lecture. But it takes place initially as a question-answer session, because there's a person who's questioning He wants to question on the topic of Guru, Shastra and Sadhu. This is actually chapter 5 of that booklet that was printed when his 100th anniversary of his appearance was celebrated many years ago. So here's the question, and this is a very relevant question. The person states, I wanted to inquire as to how to recognize Guru, Shastra, and Sadhu. How to recognize. So, Srila Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Maharaj answers. We receive confirmation from our heart's approval, our inner approval. Oh, don't keep your hand in your japa bag when the lecture is going on. You know that's not proper etiquette. It distracts me from my also. Because if you don't have your hand in your bead bag, then I know you're fully focusing. And then that helps me to convey different things. So, Srila Sridhar Maharaj says, we receive confirmation from our heart's approval, our inner approval. We receive confirmation from our heart's approval, our inner approval. Now this topic will go very deep. We must trace it to there because that took me to my Guru. What took me to my heart's approval, our inner approval. So he says we must trace it to there because it was that heart's approval, our inner approval, that initially took me to my Guru. Now Guru is all in all, but who took me to my Guru? It was my inner sentiment, my inner guide. It did not like anything else in the environment, but instead it selected that advice. So this is very general. This is actually telling the story of every jiva as they're wandering through this material world and they get the human form and so forth. So, how it is that some will come and some will not come? So he goes on and he says, it was my inner sentiment, my inner guide. It did not like anything else in the environment. My inner sentiment, my inner guide did not like anything else in the environment, but instead it selected that advice. Now many others do not care to come here, and many may ridicule this life. But what made me come here? I cannot deprecate that internal approval, that consciousness and sincerity. I cannot deprecate that. What does he mean by that? I cannot deprecate. I cannot discount that. I cannot, what's it called? I cannot ignore that. Because that is what made me come here. My internal approval, my consciousness, and my sincerity. So, therefore, that is an important factor. And ultimately, we have to depend on that internal consciousness the most. So just see. He's asking how to inquire, how to recognize Guru, how to recognize Shastra like this. Srila Sridhar Maharaj immediately brings it to your own perception. Your perception, which is coming from your internal consciousness, your internal sincerity. So therefore, that is an important factor, and ultimately, we have to depend on that internal consciousness the most. So, when collecting advice from scriptures, and when seeking or relying on advice from a sadhu, the only thing that takes me there is my internal approval, my inner friend. If it were not for that, I would not have come. And indeed, so many others, they do not come. So who has taken me to this plane? And now he quotes the all-famous verse, which he always quotes in regards to the subject matter that is being discussed here. It's from the 6th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, verse 40. And this line from that verse says, Nahi kalyana krit kaschid durgatim tata gachati. So, he says, one who sincerely wants real good, kalyanakrit, he can never be deceived. Did you hear that? One who sincerely wants real good, he can never be deceived. So when one is a real seeker of the truth, he can never be deceived. Wow, that's a pretty, almost like a damning statement. That if you were deceived, that means you were not a real seeker. At least not yet. So Krishna says, here he's paraphrasing this statement by Krishna in his own inimitable language. My dear boy, one who is sincerely hankering after the truth, he can never come across misfortune. Just see, how reassuring is that? Krishna is reassuring Arjuna. Don't worry, my dear boy. One who is sincerely hankering after the truth, he can never come across misfortune. Durgatim tata gacchati. If apparently, now check this out, if apparently some misfortune comes to visit him along the way, that is to enhance his position for his improvement. Just see. Misfortune may come. But he says he'll never come across misfortune. But in the next sentence he says, if apparently some misfortune comes to visit him along the way, oh, that is to enhance his position for his improvement. We know about that. Yes, that's the way Krishna does. So now he's expanding upon that and he's telling, some sort of danger may come on our way, but if we are sincere, it will be as a test to us, and when we will overcome that, it will be an addition to our glory. The temptations will be rejected and disarmed, but they will plead for us again. Don't think they're gone away completely. No. But still, you will have to overcome it. So, sincerity, sincere hankering after the truth is needed if we are to go further. And that is made of sukriti, the grace of the divine agents, who, by their nature, are wandering through this cursed land to help others who may not even know that they are being helped. Just see. That's such a unique way of expressing this. What is that hankering after the truth? What is it made of? If someone has this sincere hankering after the truth, what is it made of? How did someone acquire that? This sincere hankering after the truth. He says, that is made of Sukriti. That is made of Sukriti. Now we've heard the word Sukriti many times. We know what it means. We know what different types of Sukriti there are, but where does it come from? He's emphasizing the point that that sincere hankering of truth, that sincerity, where did that come from? That came from the grace of the divine agents, because they're the ones that give Sukriti. And it is their very nature. It is their very nature that they are wandering through this cursed land. This cursed land. That's what the material world is. And they're wandering through this land to help others who may not even know that they are being helped. Just see. The Agyata Sukriti. Now the questioner asks, what are Shravan Dasha and Varan Dasha? What is this? So, Srila Sridhar Maharaj says, Shravan Dasha. Shravan Dasha is when one is satisfied by first hearing the philosophy and the teachings, etc., during probationary life. Interesting choice of words, as always. What does probationary life mean? If you're about to go to prison, or you've been in prison, and they release you for a limited period of time, that's called you're on probation. Because you were behaving somewhat good, and now you're tested. But if you break that probation, you have to go back to prison. That's how the word probation is used. So, probationary life means a life in which we are having an initial test. An initial test. So, this term, Shravan Dasha, he's about to explain 5 different terminologies, which are the 5 different stages often referred to, and sometimes the terminologies change somewhat, but in this context it's explaining the course that the inquirer has to pass through, these 5 different stages. So, Shravan Dasha, the first stage, is that when one is satisfied by first hearing the philosophy, the teachings, etc., during their probationary life. So many persons are beginning to hear about Krishna consciousness. They're just beginning, or they may have received a book on the street, or they may wander into some gathering where now deep discussions are going on. Right? So, that first stage is called Shravan Dasha. Shravan means hearing. And what are you hearing? You're hearing all the different katha, philosophy, and the different teachings. Now, when one is satisfied with Shravan, he then comes to accept a guide, a guru. And that is this Varan Dasha, acceptance. Varan Dasha. So in that stage of Varan Dasha, he has the mood in that stage. He says, now I am prepared to take formal admission in this line. And I am prepared to accept you as my leader. Now, whatever you say, I must obey. So that is called Varandasha. So at first there is acceptance of a clan, such as Christianity, Mohammedanism, etc., to which someone has been introduced. And after first accepting a creed, then a person will be selected who will be able to satisfy me according to the principles of that creed. That means the Guru. And he will be able to give me the desired end of life. So he is Guru. So first the creed is accepted, and then the guide. Then, beyond Varandasha begins Sadhana Dasha. Sadhana Dasha is the third stage. And it means to follow the practices under the guidance of our Guru. By following that, we shall gain some realizations and we shall attain a tangible position. Yes. What is that tangible position? We will feel, yes, I feel that what was in the words and in the propaganda, it is now in my heart. My heart feels its touch. And that stage is called Prapana Dasha. Prapana Dasha. So only after being thus established is one able to distribute such things to others. And that stage is called Apana Dasha. Without being established in Prapana Dasha, only with the help of someone who is established there can we go to preach. Yes, so we can apply this principle to the story of the Western Hare Krishna movement from the efforts of our beloved Srila Prabhupada and how that took place and how all these 5 stages were traversed by the devotees. But the Apandasha stage, the Apandasha stage, the 5th stage, it is the stage in which he'll talk about, but it's the stage in which someone can become Guru. But here he's making a point that the person who's reached the Prapandasha, the person who's reached the Prapandasha stage, only after being thus established is one able to also distribute such things to others. And that stage is called Apandasha, after being established. But he adds an extra qualifier. Without being established in Prapana Dasha, only with the help of someone who is established there can we go to preach. Yes. So, all the devotees who started to go out and preach in the early period of the movement, many of them were practically just in the Shravan Dasha stage. But they were being told, and they were also in the association of some others who had advanced a bit more, Sadhan Dasha and so forth. So in this way, he has outlined Shravan Dasha, Varan Dasha, Sadhan Dasha, Prapan Dasha, and Apana Dasha. So now the questioner says, are there 5 stages? And Srila Sridhar Maharaj says, Shravan, Varan, and Sadhana are within this camp. Shravan, Varana, and Sadhana are within this camp. Then comes Prapana, the tangible feeling, the position of oneself experiencing the thing. That is called attainment. Prapan means attainment. What is that? Tangible feeling and the position of oneself experiencing the thing. So first we come in touch with the reality. First we come in touch with that reality. And then we become established in that real plane. And then we shall be able to distribute it to others, apan dasha.
Is that like the same as like Prabhupada? Like it means full surrender?
You mean in the word prapanna jivanamrita? Apan.
Is it the same word? Like the same word?
In the title, prapanna jivanamrita.
Yeah, is it the same as Prabhupada?
No. Because prapanna means to surrender. This is apan.
No, I'm talking about the stage before apan.
The stage before apan. Yeah. Let me just go back to that. That is called prapana, with a long A, prapan. And the other is called prapanna. Yes, prapan. Yes. So now the questioner asks, when we have inner conviction, are we then safe? And also, does the external guru help us to contact the Chaitya guru, the internal guru? And here is a very interesting discussion now. Srila Sridhar Maharaj says the external guru, Mahanta guru, he not only helps us to contact the Chaitya guru, but he helps to prepare us so we can infallibly read the direction of the Chaitya Guru. This goes on quite extensively. At first, in a raw way. And I like that. At first, in a raw way. We may receive direction from the Chaitya Guru, and that draws us to the Mahant Guru. And with the help of the Chaitya Guru, we come to the Mahant Guru. And the Chaitya Guru helps us in a raw way, in a general way, which is not very systematic and clear. Coming to the Mahant Guru, we feel, yes, with the help of my Chaitya Guru, my internal hankering has been satisfied. Then with the help of our Mahant Guru, we come to find that clear direction in our Chaitya Guru. Clear direction, not the unclear and not systematic. So, then with the help of our Mahant Guru, we come to find that clear direction in our Chaitya Guru. They are helping one another. By the help of the Mahant Guru, our ability to read the Chaitya Guru becomes more clear, more skillfully developed. Our reading of the innate Chaitya Guru becomes more clear as we become cleansed of the different thoughts and the different ideas that are mixed up from yogis, jnanis, karmis, and so many other different sections. The Chaitya Guru will give us more adherence to the Mahant Guru. And in this way, they help each other. They help. They each help the other. Now, after receiving help from the Chaitya Guru, we come to Mahant Guru. But sometimes it may also happen that after accepting Mahant Guru, the Chaitya Guru again becomes covered. The Mahant Guru will then take the disciple and help him cleanse the dirt that has covered his Chaitya Guru. The Chaitya Guru may become buried by some anartha or some Vaishnava parad, but the Mahant Guru will come to give relief. Look at that. Have you heard that before? I didn't. Not in that way. Then he goes on and he gives some practical example. He says, sometimes many may join the mission and then go away. But the Guru does not allow them to easily leave. He tries his best to bring them back again and to a firm understanding. Why have you gone away in order to search for other things? Then that person answers, oh, the desire for money and the attraction of free mixing with the ladies disturbed me and drew me away. So if the Mahant Guru is genuine, that's a very important if. If he is genuine, he will say that these particular desires, they should be removed. They are not the real objectives. For the good of the disciple, he will explain the temporary nature of any connection with such things and how minor they are, and again try to reinstate him. Some dirt may enter someone, but by the grace of the Gurus, the dirt will be cleansed in no time and he will return to the real path. Again, I'm reading that. Some dirt may enter someone, but by the grace of the Gurus, the dirt will be cleansed in no time and he'll return to the real path. So let's contemplate on this. What's being told here about a person coming to a mission and he joins and he's making some progress, but then he goes away. What took place? What happened? And is that person then just forsaken? Just forsaken forever? No. Because what will happen at that time? Can you remember? The what? Can you take the mic?
I didn't say that. I just want sentence.
Yeah.
I said if the Mahant Guru is genuine, then he will, even if some dirt comes into the heart, he will remove that.
Yes. Yes. How will he encourage that person when that person comes and he says, why did you go away? Everything else is inferior. But then he says, oh, I was pulled by the attraction for money and for mixing with the ladies and all of that. Now, if the disciple says that to a genuine Mahant Guru, then what does a genuine Mahant Guru say? He will say that these desires, they should be removed now. They are not the real objectives. And for the good of the disciple, he will explain the temporary nature of any connection with such things. And he will also impress upon him how minor they are. And again, he will try to reinstate him. So, some dirt may enter someone, but by the grace of the Gurus, the dirt will be cleansed in no time, and he will return to the real path. So, the next sentence is very interesting. He says, don't disturb yourself with these little tiny filthy things. Don't go away in this way. So there are many immature and many unfit persons, they may join the mission. So it is not impossible that some sort of anarthas may come in again to attack. It is like a fight. Sometimes one party gains ground, and sometimes that same party is losing. We see that all the time. Nowadays, Ukraine war, this, that, oh, they're gaining some ground. No, now they had to move back. Now they're gaining. So like that. So So, and ultimately, the real party will win the battle. And then he emphasizes here, he says, it is a battle. Yes. In everyone's heart, there will be a battle. Because we are sadhaks, we are not siddhas. We are not fully realized souls. But we are following the process to realization. Now, sometimes the devotees may feel defeated, and sometimes they may even go mad. I've seen it happen. Yeah, madness. But on the whole, they shall have to make progress. They shall have to, on the whole. So therefore, some sort of consideration and generosity should be allowed. This is the harmonizing Srila Sridhar Maharaj. We should think that we are in a hospital where there are so many diseased persons. So this is not a place where all the healthy people live. It's a hospital. A hospital is where diseased persons live. So he says, no, this is not a place where all the healthy people live. It is not possible. We are also patients, and there are so many other patients. And the patients are of different types, and some may even die, and some may have a relapse. But ignoring all these facts, with real interest for my own health, I must go on with the help of a doctor. And taking his help by following the proper prescribed medicine and diet, I will be cured. So just because so many others are getting worse or dying, that does not mean that my own health must also deteriorate. And another example is that in a school. I remember hearing this example from Srila Sridhar Maharaj way, way long time ago. In around 1980, 81. And Srila Sridhar Maharaj is giving this example that we're about to hear. He says another example. Because the first example of the hospital is that if you go to a hospital, you're a patient. And there are also so many other patients in that hospital, right? So many patients. And so what should you do? You should take the treatment that's meant for you and not be concerned whether or not the other patients are dying or whether the other patients are relapsing or whatever. Because you've come there to get cured. So then he says another example is that in a school, all of the students may not pass the examinations. Many will fail. But still, a determined student must go on. We should not be discouraged from following the path of our eternal benefit just because of some unsuccessful candidates. I should not be cowed down by seeing this. I must be wakeful to the fact that this is my vital and my only interest. I cannot just leave and go away. And here's what really encouraged me back then. Everyone may go, but I must fight single-handed with the enemy. All may fly away, but because this is my vital interest, I will stay and fight single-handed with self-determination. Why? Quote, because I have already understood and realized this to be my vital interest, so I cannot go back. If even once we find this to be deeply rooted within our heart, such determined resolve must come from within. And we will find this to be the very thing that we were searching after. So I'm going to illuminate on this with my own life's experience and example. Because I said, hearing Srila Sridhar Maharaj express what we just heard, in different words, but he said this. It gave me very strong determination. At a time when there was a very serious deviation going on in the ISKCON movement. This was actually around 1982, early 82. And Srila Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Maharaj was being placed on a testing block by the leaders of the society, as if they had the right to examine him with all of kinds of suspicion and so forth. Eventually, this very offensive attitude percolated, I used his own word from the other day, and became much more virile, of like a virus, became even more poisonous. And then they made the fateful decision to reject this personality, despite his incredibly supreme position of authority in the entire Gaudiya Math. Despite Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, all the statements he'd made about him, despite Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, their own guru, telling that I consider him my Siksha Guru, despite all these things, and even what I expressed the other day, they actually did the most incredibly shocking thing to officially ban him. Can you imagine? From a world institution, that the founder of that institution invited him to come and live in the very center in Mayapur, which is going to be the worldwide center, invited him to live in the same house with him in Mayapur and become the president of ISKCON and so forth. And they did that. So I was in Detroit, Michigan at the time, when 4 sannyasis flew in from Mayapur directly. This was Gaur Purnima time of 1982. And at first, they were concealing what was their real intention. But after a few days, when they saw, I'm not going to get into all the details here. There's a lot of political wranglings and everything connected with this. But they saw that now we have to completely distance ourselves from him and everyone else and give an official ban that if anyone goes to him, if anyone in the ISKCON movement goes to him for hearing from him, association or anything, they're banned also. I've been in the movement up to that point for 12 years of my life. From the age of 18, and at this point, it was 12 years. So, when I heard that, I had to deeply think about this. What the hell is going on here? What? It was shocking! But yet, these were the leaders of an institution founded by my Gurudev, Srila Prabhupada. And they were telling that now, no one can any longer go to him, although there had been dozens and dozens, and even a few hundred devotees, and even his conversations with the GBC members themselves over a period of a few years were being disseminated everywhere throughout the world. And now all of a sudden, they've made the decision. These are people that had been devotees of the Krishna consciousness movement at that point for no more than about 10 or 12 years. And now they've become such exalted, enlightened personalities that they can dare, and I use the term Srila Sridhar Maharaj said, fools rush in where angels fear to tread. They did that. So now I'm in this institution, and I'd already met His Divine Grace, Srila Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Maharaj 2 years earlier. Yes, in Mayapur, right here in Navadvip, in 1979. And the reason why I wanted to meet him was because my Guru Maharaj Srila Prabhupada told to his senior disciples that you should go to him after I leave this world. And I was there in Vrindavan with Srila Prabhupada in his last 5 or 6 weeks before he left this world. And I heard everything that Prabhupada and all the different instructions that he had given. Sometimes I was in the room and sometimes I was not. But whatever he spoke in that room was repeated immediately at the end of the day. And we would sit and listen to those who were right there. So, not only that, but in 1975, okay? 1975, that's 7 years before. Srila Prabhupada had written, he had told to Rameswar, who was the BBT secretary at that time, and he was communicating with Srila Prabhupada, and then he would disseminate Prabhupada's katha and news about Prabhupada. And it was written right there on the BBT newsletter. He asked the question to Prabhupada, is there anyone else on the planet who can write purports to the Srimad Bhagavatam if you're not able to complete while you're still with us on this planet? Is there anyone else that can do that after you leave? And I read this with my own eyes, 1975. Srila Prabhupada said there are only 2 persons on the planet who can write purports to the Srimad Bhagavatam in the English language, myself and my godbrother, Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Maharaj. What more confirmation did I need? So therefore, it was my prime, absolute resolution that I am going to visit with this personality. And that did take place in 1979 on a few different occasions. I was staying in Mayapur in ISKCON. I was brahmachari, already brahmachari for nearly 10 years. And then I was coming across the Ganga. And I sat with Srila Sridhar Maharaj personally, face to face, at least 3 times at that time, and heard his incredible Harikatha. So fast forwarding from 79, then 1980, 81, and now it's the beginning of 82. And so, I mean, there's a whole long history, and someday I'm going to tell the whole story, and we have all of the transcripts from all of the conversations that Srila Sridhar Maharaj had with all the different ISKCON leaders, and toward the end, when they began to challenge him. We have all of that. It's not that I have to only dredge my memory, not at all. And there's already a book that's already analyzed that fully and very nicely presented the entire, what do you call it, debacle that could, such an inauspicious thing could happen. The title of that book is Our Affectionate Guardians. It's written by Bhakti Bhavana Vishnu Maharaj, from taking all of these conversations, and the whole story is told there, very, very succinctly. So, anyway, that time period, beginning of 82, I could not understand exactly what I should do at that stage. Because I had been in this institution for all that time. And so And now I was a householder. And now I have responsibility to maintain and support and all of that. So I had to make a decision. At that time, I thought, let me wait and see. Let me wait and see what is really happening here. But I absolutely did not accept their decision. That was very confusing to me at the time. How can they do that? How can they do that? How can they do that? I had heard the tapes of them speaking with Srila Sridhar Maharaj, and then they do that? Oh my God. Anyway, another year, 1982 went by, 1983, and during this time, I was still within the society, within the institution. And in 1983, I even became, I went to East Africa, Nairobi, on a mission for preaching the message of Mahaprabhu. Prabhupada wanted us to preach, so I was trying to follow that, and I went to East Africa in Kenya, in Nairobi, and I became the temple president there for about a year. Then after that, I returned to England. So, actually there's so many details, but I'm just trying to sort the main points because I don't want to tell the whole story. I want to continue with this article. But I'm coming to the conclusion. By the end of 1984, many things had happened in that year, in 1984, when I returned back to England. And I was living somewhat independently from the temple as a householder. I was living independently. So I was gradually, I was becoming more and more concerned and more convinced that these leaders of this society, of this institution, they are not very capable persons. They have made the absolutely disastrous decision, wrong decision. You can't be farther from the truth than what they have decided to do. So gradually I was leaning in the direction of disconnecting myself. And what did happen eventually was that by the, let's say around October of that year, 1984, then the GBC, I'm not going to mention names, the GBC guru of that time, he had the unfortunate habit of having an attitude which he openly expressed in a negative way against Srila Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Maharaj. In classes, in actual public Srimad Bhagavatam lectures, sitting on the Vyasasana, all of that. And he would say various very, very detrimental and critical things against Srila Sridhar Maharaj, even accusing him of low-grade, emotions toward Prabhupada, like envy and this and that. So I at that point, I was really getting fed up. And Krishna arranged a lot of things. You'll hear my full, complete, detailed story at some point. But a lot of things happened at that time. The Chaitya Guru and the Mahant Guru, they were helping with all direction. And then there came a point where I realized that very soon I could be given as we say, given the boot. Because they had this rule, GBC rule, and the GBC was very, very earnest in trying to enforce this rule that if anyone is found going over there to that side to be with those people who have left Prabhupada to go to he wouldn't even say Maharaj, you just say Sridhar, they will be officially banned, excommunicated from the institution. So now it comes to the very reason why why I began to tell my experience. Because here Srila Sridhar Maharaj is saying, you will have to fight single-handedly. And I remember at that time, I was listening to various lectures of Srila Sridhar Maharaj. I had a whole collection, 40 different audio cassette tapes in those days, you know, audios that were 90 minutes each of different darshans Srila Sridhar Maharaj had. And I became inundated with his Harikatha. My heart became completely illuminated by his Harikatha. I was listening literally 6 hours a day at least. Even driving my car, I was listening and going here and there. So I became fully convinced of a very clear reality. Those people over there, the opposition party, there's a line right here, they are on that side, and I'm alone on this side. Not completely alone, but more or less. And they are completely wrong. They are absolutely deviated from Srila Prabhupada's desire. And if Srila Prabhupada were here and he suddenly descended from Goloka Vrindavan and saw his so-called leaders of his society and said, give me a report. Oh, Prabhupada, you know, we had to bring our heads together and we had to examine your godbrother, Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Maharaj, and we made a decision that he's very dangerous to associate with, so we banned him. And Srila Prabhupada would do what? You did what? And then the sledgehammer would come down 11 times and more. 1, 2, 3, 4 on everyone's head. That's what he would do. And I say it to this day with all of my conviction and realization also. So, what encouraged me was the words of Srila Sridhar Maharaj, because he told, here's what he told. He said, you must be so convinced that even the entire world is on the other side and you alone are there. You will not back down and you will continue to fight. That's the story of my life. And guess what? 10 years later, the same thing happened again. With another Mahabhagwat, intimate associate of our Srila Prabhupada. And they did the same thing again. For me, that was like, because I already saw it coming. I saw it coming. And then it came. But what was the result of that? The result was that that person who became banned, Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj, Mahabhagwat Rasik Vaishnava, Uttam Mahabhagwat Vaishnava, he went throughout the whole world and he became the Acharya, the actual Acharya. When an Acharya is going to leave this world, he generally appoints his successor. Generally. That's the general rule. So, Srila Narayan Maharaj, being challenged every single step of the way, for 15 years by the leaders of that institution, challenged, derided, articles written against him. But those persons were very sadly unaware of the fact that Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayan Maharaj, in his very astrology chart, in his palm of his hand, it is written that whoever challenges him, he only becomes stronger. And that's what happened. And at a certain point, he just simply told, I am the only successor of Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj. He told that. Of course, there were others who were qualified, like Srila Gaura Govinda Maharaj, who had left the world, and so forth. But Srila Gurudev, Srila Narayan Maharaj, was very clearly, boldly declaring to them that now you see, and you wait and see. Because all of my books that I've written during this 15 years and before that have all now been translated into English and all the other languages, guess what? They're going to be read by hundreds of thousands and lakhs and ultimately millions of devotees. Yeah. And you will see that my books will become accepted by everyone as the authoritative versions. He told that when the Jaiva Dharma came fresh off the press in Delhi, in Mathura Mutt, and he had a stack of them, the pre-printed, copies, and all signed by him, and he was giving them to the devotees who had helped to produce the book, editors and so forth. He also gave one to me, and he held the book up, and he said, in the future, this version, it will be accepted as the authoritative version of the Jaiva Dharma. Yes. So same thing happened with Srila Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Maharaj. What are we reading here? We're reading his lectures. All of his lectures have been transcribed, and a very vast number of them have been made into collected together and made into books. Those books have been translated into dozens of languages, and they're all over the world. I just received a message from one lady devotee who lives in England, not saying any names, but she wrote to me and she said, we've never met each other, but I'm writing to you because myself and my husband, we live in England, but our ISKCON guru, and we are devotees in ISKCON, but our ISKCON guru, he fell down and he left the movement in 2007. And so I have some questions I'd like to hear, because I understand that you were very close with Srila Narayan Maharaj. So then she wrote like 3-4 questions, but mainly especially about Guru Tattva. And so I wrote her back and I said, well, I have some articles, some books that I'd like to refer you to. Because her heart was asking the question, will I meet a real Sadguru in this life? Or even though I'm crying and I'm wanting to meet a real Guru and take initiation from him, but I'm not yet met. So will this happen or will this not happen? So I told her, I want to send you some articles, some books. What is your Facebook address, this and that? Then I can send them to you and you can read them. This will help you so much. And I was going to tell her, Sri Guru and His Grace, amongst other articles. And she wrote back, oh, I disconnected my Facebook account 10 years ago, and I'm much more peaceful in life without it. But she said, but I have read, without telling me at first, that she's already read Sri Guru and His Grace, and some books of Srila Narayan. She did say she was reading the books of Srila Narayan Maharaj and so forth. So my point is that those books are personally, they're super powerful. They're empowered by Krishna, and they will help thousands and lakhs of devotees into the future. And all the institutional, lines of separation or walls or all of that, that will not be existing in the future as it is today. And Srila Gurudev predicted that. So now, that was my, how do you say? Addended. So, I'm just repeating what he said, that everyone may go. Everyone else, they may leave the battle. But I must fight single-handed with the enemy. All may fly away, but because this is my vital interest, I will stay and fight single-handedly with determination. Why? Why will I do this? Because I have already understood and I have realized this to be my vital interest. So I cannot go back. So if even once we find this to be deeply rooted within our heart, such determined resolve must come from within. We will find this to be the very thing that we were searching after. So now that person questions, can a patient also become a doctor? Srila Sridhar Maharaj answers, yes. When he is fully cured, when he has studied about medicine, and when he has undergone the necessary education of a doctor, then he may become a doctor. It is necessary to be qualified and also to be appointed. You see, first of all, it is necessary to be qualified. And then, by the appointment of the higher administration, you can become a doctor in the hospital. You may engage in private practice if you are qualified, but to become a doctor in a hospital, you must have some sanction from above. So in this way, a sadhu can give assistance in several ways. But, and now pay attention to this, the acharya, holding a big position, he should have sanction from above. And that is prapandasha. Question. Who will decide whether the patient is qualified to be a doctor? Srila Sridhar Maharaj, external sanction is not necessary by letter, but he is to be already awake and fixed in the internal world. Inspiration will come from the internal world. That what? The people are suffering, and you have the medicine. You should distribute the medicine to the patients. So he's making a very important point here. Because the person is asking, who will decide this? Whether the patient is qualified to be a doctor or not. And then Srila Sridhar Maharaj says, external sanction is not necessary by letter, but he is to be already awake and fixed in the internal world. Inspiration will come from the internal world. And what is that inspiration? It will take this form. That he sees the people are suffering and you have the medicine. You should distribute the medicine to the patients. That comes from within. He says here that this may be seen in a dream, but while awake also, internal inspiration will come to you. And because you know the medicine, and because you know the symptoms of the disease, irresistibly you will advance to help the patients. You have the medicine and you cannot but engage yourself in treating them. You will see this more clearly than daylight, more really than this world of experience. That's how you will see it. People are suffering, but you have the medicine. You use that medicine and you were cured. Now you find another to be suffering from the same disease You have the cure in your hand, so why should you not apply it? What explanation do you have not to do so? It will not be for making money that you will give the medicine. And not for fame, but it will be due to the internal urge to help them. And you will find that the noble predecessors have also asked you to do so. Who did? Mahaprabhu, Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya 7, 128. What is that verse? Jare dako, tare kaho, Krishna Upadesh. Amar Agyai Guru Hoya Tar E Desh. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu instructed, whoever you meet, try to rescue them by talking to them about Krishna. So then he gives an example. If there is a ditch, a hole, and you see a man about to blindly fall into it, will you not try to save him? You're standing a couple of feet away from him, and he's about to fall. Aren't you going to try to save him? It is a natural feeling. So when it is plain, so very plain that it will happen, but you don't help him, then you will be responsible. This common sense may be applied, but we must be sincere. The danger is that we must not be motivated by money, by fame, or any worldly gain. Kanaka, Kamini, and Pratishta. They are the three main disturbing elements that misguide us, and they draw us from this side to that side. But when we are free from them, then the street that we walk shall be broad and clear. God is good. What did he say? God is what? Everyone say, God is good. God is good. God is good, and you will like to see everyone becoming good by getting God. God is good, and you will like to see everyone becoming good by getting God. God is good, and God is great. And when that superior type of thinking will be clear in you, it will be clear to you, then all your activities will be controlled only by that one principle of life. And with that, you will go on helping others with the firm faith that this must be given to all. How will you think? And he says, this is very tasteful. This is very tasteful. Please come to a safe position, away from the danger zone, and you will become happy. Right? This is how preaching. You see somebody, and you say to them, this is very tasteful. Please come to a safe position, away from that danger zone, and you will become happy. The tasteful medicine will make people happy. And if that is actually in your possession, you cannot but feel the urge within to help others. If what is in your possession, the tasteful medicine, and the happiness that results from that, then you cannot but, that you must feel the urge within to help others. Help other jivas. That's why Bhaktivinoda Thakur has written in his song Nadiyo Godrumi Nityananda Mahajan, Krishner samsar koro charyanachar jive doya. Krishna nam sarva dharma sar. Jive doya. Have doya. Have mercy for the jivas. That's the highest religious principle. It's considered to be the highest religious principle. To have mercy for the jivas. Krishna is so emphatic on this point that he says at the end of the Bhagavad Gita that anyone who preaches this message that I have given to you, Arjuna, this message that I have spoken to you, anyone who preaches this message to my devotees, then for that person, pure bhakti is guaranteed. Yes. For that person, devotional service is guaranteed. And in the end, he will come back to me. And then he says, there has never been a servant more dear to me than he who preaches my message. Nor in the future will there ever be one more dear to me than he. That's Krishna's own words. So, with real knowledge, then all the general questions, such as where we are to go, how to go, and why we should go, they are to be solved in order to help others with real knowledge. Then he quotes the verse from Chaitanya Charitamrita, Kayami, who am I? Keniyame jare tapatrai. Why am I troubled? And how can I achieve my desired end? So these fundamental problems should be solved. And if you have the solution, you must give it to others. My friends, come and solve your problems. That will be the mentality of a preacher, and found very intensely in an acharya. Yes. Then the question comes, someone may have a sincere urge, but he may not be completely aware of the danger, and he himself may become infected. Srila Sridhar Maharaj answers, the proper path follows a fine strategy. With the help of a higher agent, he may approach, otherwise not. And without the help of a higher agent, he will be nowhere. He will be lost. When he goes to cure a patient, if he will not be able to cure him, then the patient's germ will attack him and he will also die with the patient. So in that case, he won't be of any help and he should not approach. He should inform the higher doctor and he should ask for better medicine to help his serious patient. So in the case of doubt that, here's the doubt, that with my meager medicine and meager instruments, I may not be able to cure this patient. So with that, in that doubt, then one should not venture to approach the patient, but instead, he will appeal to the doctor of a higher position. This is very reasonable. And following Mahaprabhu's advice to help others, still, it may be found in rare cases that the doctor approaches with a good heart to cure the patient, but he himself dies. It is also not impossible, but it is not desirable. So when an organized party approaches for relief work, he likes to use this term, relief work. When an organized party approaches for relief work, then some soldiers may be sacrificed before obtaining victory. The victorious party will also have to incur some loss when fighting with the enemy. And similarly, in the mission, Some soldiers may be asked to approach the rich men and the women, and therefore sometimes some may be lost. But their loss will be for the time being, and again they will come back. We expect them to come back again, because once that someone has a taste, he will not be able to forget that. And then he quotes Gita 2:40, Neha Bikramanasosti pratyavaya navidyate svalpam apyasya dharmasya trayate mahato bhayat. Whatever has been acquired is eternal. It cannot be destroyed. And then he quotes Bhagavad Gita 9:31. This is the very end of this speech by Srila Sridhar Maharaj. He quotes Bhagavad Gita, Kaunteya pratijanihi name bhakta pranashyati. The assurance is given by Krishna. Even if, Krishna is saying that even if he has come to me only for the time being, but he has taken some medicine before leaving. So he ultimately must come to me again. Gaur Premanandi. Srila Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. Tadiya Tirobhav Mahamahotsav Titi Srila Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. Nitai Gaur Premanandi. So tomorrow is his divine disappearance day, and we will go there to Sri Chaitanya Saraswati. Many devotees from our Sangha here, they will go across, and many Vaishnavas from the different Gaudiya Mats. They will also come there, and there will be certain persons called upon to speak. So I will be going there. I went there last year for the first time. On his disappearance day, because I'd never been in Navadvip before on his disappearance day. So, and then, I was asked the other day what time, so it'll be, I'll probably go over there 9:30. It's a short walk. So there will be a lot of different speakers, and we can meditate and worship Srila Sridhar Maharaj. And if we go there a bit earlier, we might be able to go up to his room and where his chair is, and his asana where he used to sit and give the classes. So anyway, this lecture was titled The Guide. And Srila Sridhar Maharaj told how sincerity can never be conquered. Sincerity is invincible. He tells that in various ways, in various talks. But he ends the entire discussion here with Krishna's assurance that Name Bhakta Pranashyati. My bhakta can never perish. And then also, Svalpam apyasya dharmasya trayate mahato bhayat. Whatever is received, in this case he's talking about it as being medicine, right? But that connection with pure bhakti and Krishna consciousness, it can never be lost in any lifetime. Only thing that can obscure it is offenses against the pure Vaishnava. It's said that it cannot be fully removed, but the suffering will have to be undergone for even lifetimes, from performing Maha Vaishnava Aparad against a Maha Bhagavad Vaishnava. That curse, that suffering can go on for lifetimes. But at some point in the future, when the reaction has been mitigated by suffering, then some chance is there again. So, even a tiny little connection in this life or other lifetimes with this truth, right? This message of Krishna, this truth that is given by Mahaprabhu, that is given in the disciplic succession. So if someone comes in contact with this truth, even to a small extent, then Krishna is telling here, it can never be lost. That will go with you to your next life. Does your money that you accumulated in this life, even if you accumulated billions of dollars, even trillions, does that go with you? One single tiny little red penny or paisa, does that go with you to your next life? Nil, absolutely nil, nothing. But this goes with you. I thought that was a very appealing and a very attractive and interesting aspect of this movement, of Krishna consciousness movement, when I first learned this. I thought, wow, it's amazing that you'd never lose this. Everything else is lost. All of your relationships with your parents and your family and your friends and your societies, and everything's gone when you leave this body. But this is not gone. It's still there. Sometimes the example is given of an account. You know, that there is like a bank account, and it's there in the subtle level. And the Paramatma is overseeing that in our subtle body, that these impressions that come from the execution of pure bhakti and the association of pure Vaishnavas, they're so powerful that they're never lost, and not only that, but they again rise up in our heart in the next life. So Srila Sridhar Maharaj has given very great reassurance here, and he's also told that we should be compassionate to the jivas. We should understand what we've received. We should be very convinced about what we've received, you know. And we should try to help others who are suffering from the same disease that we were suffering from. We should try to help them by giving them the medicine. So that's all for today. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhyeva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Bolo. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Rama. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Shri Bhakti Rakshak Shri Har Goswami Maharaj Ki Shri Shri Guru Gauranga Gandharvika Giridhari Radha Vinod Bihari Jiyo Ki Gaur Premanande Vrindai Tulsi Devai Priyai Keshavasya Cha Krishna Bhakti Prade Devi Satyavachai Namo Namaha Vansha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Eva Cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha.